It's time for Respect the Process, a short chat about commercial filmmaking. Here's your host, director Jordan Brady.
Oh, Helen, thank you. Season 3 is going strong, and today is no exception. We have commercial director Chris Francis. Now, Chris he's at a Super Bowl spot he's directed. He's won 2 Emmys, and he is a 3-time grade school spelling bee champion. And yes, I asked him about that. Chris directs in-house for the Raindrop Agency. You've seen their Dr. Squatch spots. And he does, as an in-house director at an agency with its own production arm, and they do quality work, funny stuff too. I think he says he's doing 100+ spots a year. I mean, that's a lot, and it's just a great chat. So instead of me jaw-jacking, let's get to Chris right after a word from our new sponsor, Posh Duo. This episode is brought to you by a new sponsor, Posh Duo, the original 2-in-1 hair and beard styling stick. I use it. It's made for filmmakers, handcrafted with beeswax, tea tree oil, a fresh hint of citrus, and a single Viking tear. Listeners of this show respect the process, get free shipping, and it comes in discreet packaging. There's a link in the show notes. Get the posh look. Quick reminder, my Filmmaker retreat in Joshua Tree is October 1st through the 4th, 2026, year 5, everybody. It's a small group of real working filmmakers. I want you to come be a part of a special community, take part in honest conversations, and just take time to think out in the desert. And the food is fantastic. That's where all the magic happens, really, is we all eat our meals together. If you've been craving connection, transformational clarity about your career or life, and you really want to define your voice as a filmmaker, this might be right for you. So DM me or sign up quickly. It will sell out. Oh yeah, there's plenty of Magic Mind at the retreat. That's the mental performance shot that I drink daily. Okay, let's get on with the show. First, I want to ask, what is it like being a spelling bee champion? Because that's on your website.
Kind of fun. I think I won in 1st, 3rd, and 6th grade. And when I say I won, it wasn't the national spelling bee. I just won like my school's spelling bee. But yeah, it was a sense of pride back in the day. Although the last time I won it in 6th grade, I purposely didn't study because I actually didn't want to win, because I didn't want to have to go to practice for the next 6 weeks for regionals. But then when I got there to the day, I was so competitive that I was like, I can't misspell a word on purpose to get out. Right. And the competition that year, I guess, wasn't very hard. So I ended up winning. And then, and then I told the teacher that was doing the training for the next one that I didn't want to do it. And she was not happy about that, but I actually had the alternate take my place.
And what was the word? What was the word that you won with?
You know what? I don't know.
A word that sticks with you that you didn't win with. You're like, oh, whenever I hear that word to this day.
Yes. The first time that I went to like regionals, I got out on the word cereal, which I love cereal, but I just blanked and I put the A before the E on cereal after the R. So
Cereal, cereal.
Yeah. I went CERA. And then my heart, like my soul, just left my body as a little first grader. And that's when it's
over. You can't pull back.
No,
it's not like a half swing in baseball. You rounded. You broke the wrist.
Yep, that was it. That was like all that work for the last 6 weeks of training to lose in like the second round on cereal. So that was a scarring event for me.
I won't bring it up again. And tell us how you got into filmmaking.
That's a great question. Through skateboarding. So, I got into skateboarding because I saw my first skate video. It's called Eastern Exposure 3. Very deep cut, but it was just all East Coast skateboarding.
Eastern Exposure 3.
Yeah.
So now, could you watch 3 without 1 and 2? Or are you lost in the story? It's like Fast and Furious. If you haven't seen the proceedings.
I could. You couldn't even find 1 and 2 I mean, this was like on VHS, so this was before YouTube. But yeah, it was like all East Coast skating, New York, Philadelphia, DC, and I was just blown away that you could actually just be skating down the street and doing tricks. So I was like mesmerized. I think I watched it like 10 times that day. And then for me, skateboarding was always synonymous with video. Like you don't go skating without, I'd bring my mom's video camera. And then in high school, when I graduated high school, I took all my graduation money and bought my first camera, and I got the fisheye lens and spent, yeah. So I spent most of my college years putting all my time and energy on skating and making skate videos. And then also trying to do some classwork in between.
What was that first camera?
It was a Canon GL1.
I remember the GL.
Yeah, all I knew from seeing in the photos in the magazines and in skate videos is that they always had handles. So I didn't know anything about specs. I was like, I just need a camera with a handle, and I knew you couldn't get like a consumer camera, didn't have handles. So I saved up for the prosumer GL1 and got a fisheye lens, and so I spent most of college doing that, and that was a lot of fun. But I just always immediately started thinking video all the time.
What's so funny is I bought myself a new camera, a Sony FX30, just to play around with and to do my socials and whatnot, not for commercials or anything. And I love it. And I got the handle kit. And then I bought the small rig handle extension that completes the handle. So instead of being an open handle, it's more like that old school video camera where the handle is on a prosumer camera it's a complete thing. So you won't drop it, you won't slip it out of your hand. And I was thinking about the skate videos, but I got to say, Chris, after 13 plus years of doing this podcast, I think more guests, filmmakers that are guests on this show have come from skating than any other, maybe even film school, probably second to film school.
Okay.
Because it is such a part of the culture. And that wide angle lens, I remember when my son was skateboarding and I videoed him, he wanted to make a video and I used a long lens. I'm like, everybody does the fisheye. And he was so mad. Like, you have to use the fisheye. I'm like, but then it looks like everyone else's. I'm going to shoot you from across the way. It's the same trick, but you're not up in there.
Yeah. Well, the fisheye also helps exaggerate some things. Sometimes the tricks don't look as interesting just from the naked eye. You got to exaggerate a little bit.
Do you watch to this day? Do you still watch? Like, my Instagram feed has some crazy skateboarders in it.
Yeah, I think, I stay connected via Instagram and YouTube. The algorithms know that I was a former skateboarder and skate filmer. So it'll send me stuff. And the stuff they're doing today is just like insane. Like, I just can't even wrap my head around it.
27 stairs, kick flipping over a fire hydrant and tapping the tail on the fire hydrant and then onto a wall down to the street. Yeah,
I know. Chris Jocelyn just 360 flipped El Toro, which is a 20 stair. Back when I was skating, I think somebody like kick flipped it, and that was like the biggest deal in the world, and that was probably like 15 years ago. So it's like, it's crazy the amount of technical tricks that people will do down something like life-threatening. So it's wild. I would have had no chance skateboarding in this era, although skate filming, there's a plethora of great skaters doing amazing stuff to film, though.
And as a father, you're too valuable to be trying those things.
That's true. I have kind of somewhat came out of retirement a little bit. I got a skateboard I got what I call a filmer board, which I actually, ironically, have it right here.
Why do you call it a filmer board?
So back when I used to skateboard, I had two skateboards. One was my regular board that I would do tricks on. And then I had another board that had these big soft wheels. Now I use longboarding wheels. But back then there was a skate filmer called French Fred that had actually a pro model wheel that was like soft. So you could when you're skating next to the guys, you can just do one or two pushes and keep coasting for a long time. So then your footage isn't like shaky from you trying to push. So I've always had two boards, one for smooth cruising and then one for skating. So I use my filmer board now when I go around the neighborhood with my son on his scooter, so I can just, go over all the cracks on the sidewalk and just have
I love it.
a smooth ride. So
I have an old Fiberflex longboard with the springs in the trucks, and I want to say orangutan soft wheels.
oh,
Is that
okay.
a deep cut? I don't know.
Orangutan. I think I know what you're talking about, but yeah, when I went to
One
bought
push, you go forever.
yeah, when I went and bought my new skateboard stuff, it was like I didn't recognize hardly any of the brands, and I felt so old. I was like, I've heard of this brand, I'll buy this one. But yeah, there's a lot of new brands out there. So
No more World Industries for you.
no. I definitely had the T-shirt when I was in 7th grade for sure.
So you're making these skate videos. How do you then get paid to do a video? Like, what's that transition from I'm doing these, there's no YouTube, then YouTube comes along, I'm putting them on YouTube, and all of a sudden someone goes, hey, I'll give you $100.
Well, for me, this was pre-YouTube. So I'm older than my youthful looks would say. But this was pre-YouTube. So what I would do is I would produce the skate videos independently. So I would literally, I had my GO1, and with my money that I got from graduation, I made my first independent video, got the VHSs made, the DVDs made, sold those, took all of that money to buy the next camera. I had a premiere like at a local skate park. So I'd make a relationship with some of the best skaters in my circle, my friends. And so I just as I got better, my friends got better, and I started meeting more people that wanted to be in my videos. And so I would essentially, I remember, I took that money and then sold my camera and then got, a Sony VX1000, which was like the king of the hill. Yeah. And then I bought in college, I got my first credit card and put the fisheye on the credit card. So that was like $900. And I was like, well, my last video, I made, I think like $800 or $1,000 off of VHS sales. So I was like, I know I can pay for it, but so I would do that, like 12 months, no payments kind of deal, film for a year, make that video, have a premiere, release it, make $1,200 off of that, and then buy my second camera. So I wouldn't say that I was making money, because I was also the one spending all the gas money, driving all around the Midwest, taking all my friends that were.
Yeah, what city are you in when you're doing this?
Indianapolis.
Big skate scene.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a smaller scene, so it was kind of easy. Once people realized that I could make legit videos, I could kind of get access to some of the best skaters in town.
But the entrepreneurial zeal that you're telling us, that you're sharing with us, is wonderful. It's like distributing a film,
Totally.
four-walling a theater, but instead you're going to a skate shop, and VHSs, even if you sold them at 10 or $20 a pop, that's quite a bit of product that you're moving.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like cash over fist at the skate event.
Yep. Yeah. So it's just, hopefully the IRS isn't listening, but yeah, just cash. And yeah, you'd pay money to get the VHSs made. And then I bought some of the earliest, like DVD, burners, and I had like an inkjet printer that could print on it. But I think even then, I went to a place downtown and had them professionally burned, because I was afraid. That was back then when you'd get a burnt DVD and it might not play in your player. So I was like, the last thing I wanted to do was have to be customer service and tech support on people that bought my stuff. So, but yeah, it's very entrepreneurial. And I probably, you break it down, I probably made 1 cent an hour by the time you put all the hundreds of hours that went into it. But it was just fun. I love doing it.
Right? That's to this day. I'm doing a project that we just did a last minute Zoom, and if I counted up all the hours and divided by what I'm getting paid, I mean, I would be better off, being a line cook at Denny's.
Yeah, but I loved it. I've always loved having a project to work towards. And it's fun. There's a part of skateboarding that you're kind of like, it's kind of like you're on a scavenger hunt. You're looking for the right spot. You're trying to discover new spots that nobody's filmed at. You're also trying to like watch other videos and then try to figure out where is that spot. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like, you're hunting for the great white whale of like, where's this spot? Where's that spot? So you drive all around the Midwest and, try to parlay spring break vacations to Florida. Like, all right, what footage can we get in Florida that nobody else in Indiana is going to have clips at and stuff like that. So you're just trying to think, you're just constantly thinking, outside the box and just trying to kind of maximize all your opportunities. And I think that kind of translates to a lot of things in life, but that was a lot of fun for me.
Well, it's the travel, the skate videos I've seen, and obviously not as many as you, or there's some listeners out there that know exactly what you're talking about, and others, this is foreign to them. But the camaraderie and the travel log aspect of a skate video is part of the fun.
Totally.
Especially as you discover skaters that gain prominence, right? Like, oh, look, he's in this video before he took off and got in Thrasher magazine or whatever
Totally.
it is. So you're also this creative producer at this time.
Yeah, so I would I produced a lot, just mostly out of necessity, because even before I started directing commercials, I was mostly DPing for the last I don't know, 10 years before that. But go
ahead, sorry.
I would always just have to produce a lot out of necessity, and then edit a lot out of necessity. So I've kind of produced, directed, edited, DP'd, all of that stuff, which I think was like a really helpful foundation for sure. But I'm very, very happy to be just in my lane now as a director.
I'm going to get to that, but I want to point out to anyone listening that's breaking in, why would an editor edit your shit if you're not a working director? Like, unless they're a good friend or a lover. Mm-hmm. So you have to learn to edit. But those hours in front of the computer editing, or in my case, tape to tape, when it began, you just learn so much, the economy of storytelling, when to not just let it roll because you got to watch it for everything you roll on, getting cutaways and inserts. Like it just, I think it makes you a smarter filmmaker when you've spent so much time editing.
Totally.
And before we get to your, I'm just a commercial director, I'm in my lane, who hired you to DP? Another skate company or?
No, I kind of like, it's funny because I moved from Indianapolis to San Diego about 18 years ago. So the irony is that I moved to the skateboard mecca of the world and stopped skating and stopped making skate videos because really honestly, making skate videos too was just kind of like my excuse to get to hang out with my friends because I'm not a daredevil. So they were, it's like they started getting so much better and doing crazy stuff. And I'm like, I'm just going to hang out in the shallow end of the pool here. But being the filmer was kind of my ticket to still be involved and be in the band, so to speak. So then when I moved out here, all my friends, none of my friends were out here. So I was just kind of like, I don't love it that much. It was just kind of like a great season and kind of my ticket to be a part of the group. So once I moved out here, I took a documentary class in college where we had to shoot and direct and edit it. And it actually was a real project for a health network in Indiana. It'd be like the equivalent of like, I guess, like Scripps out here in Southern California. And they actually used it, and they used it as their official training for all nurses and their whole thing. And I think they might still use it to this day.
Wow.
It's not very good. And we made so many mistakes. Yeah. We made so many mistakes that my professor made us reshoot the whole thing.
Whoa.
And it was like, we're doing interviews of people as for organ donation. So we're telling these like heartfelt, emotional stories of these families that have been impacted by organ donation. And we broke the 180 rule. And so we had the interviewer here and one camera on this side, one camera on this side. So the whole time they're like, so blah, da, 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 and then we cut and da, 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 da. And they're just looking different ways. And my professor was like, you have to reshoot this. And it was like,
You couldn't just flop one of them?
no, because I mean, we made all sorts of mistakes because it was also like both angles were kind of the same angle. It wasn't like a tight and a wide.
Right.
And it was funny. My professor, he was this Chinese guy. He didn't speak English very well. Like nobody connected with him. And it was just like this weird, he just said we had to do it. And we're like, and he was just like, nope. And we're like, all right,
So
I guess we got to
go
do
back
it.
to the families and say, you remember that heart-wrenching story that you told with such authentic emotion? We got to do it again. So now they're like, okay, we lost a kidney. We found a guy.
Yeah. And I mean, they added some new people in, and I think some people weren't available to redo it, but it ended up working. I've never broken the 180-degree rule since. But yeah, so I got into documentary stuff too. And at the time when I was making skate videos, also my cousin was a youth pastor at a church, and he was very funny, and he loved to do stuff like, he was kind of very like ahead of his time, very early, like, what do I want to say? Not anti-establishment, but I want to subvert what is normal in the world of church and youth group and stuff. And it's like, we've got to connect with kids, the middle schoolers and high schoolers. Like, we've got to have fun. And so I would be cutting funny promos. We would like do these like fake interviews where he would like VHS record like an interview with like Puff Daddy. I remember, this was before we knew what he was into, but being interviewed about something else. And then I would try to recreate the scene, and I would film my cousin asking him different questions than what the interview was question.
Love that technique.
Yeah. So we do goofy stuff like that. And then I would do recap videos. So if we had like a retreat, like a snowboarding retreat for the kids, like I would bring my camera that I had and just film. And then I would make these highlight videos, and then those would turn into promo videos for next year's events. So I was doing skateboarding, but then my cousin's youth group stuff was kind of like more my intro to like advertising, because it was just me and him. There's nobody overseeing it. Like, I'd be editing at home on my iMac in college, like Saturday night at 4 a.m., before we're going to play it Sunday night. And so we would just do funny promos, and he loved comedy and I love comedy. So like, that's kind of probably like more my intro to how I started getting into like comedy directing and kind of thinking that way.
But you were thinking comedically, recreating those interviews. I mean, that's what they do on The Daily Show. People would love to think that it's live and they're that funny, but they do record questions after the interview.
Yeah.
So that it's a little, not incongruous, but like kind of a twist, a comic twist to make the answer funnier. So then flash forward to, you're just full-time directing now.
Yeah. So
with spots, I see Native. Am I saying it right? The Native, from the gods to your sink, where it's all the gods of Olympus talking about the Native product. And I see that all the time on my TV, watching Landman or whatever I'm watching.
Yeah. They put a lot of spin behind those. So,
that's not unless it's good, right?
Right. That is true. Like, I could go down a whole rabbit hole, but at the agency I'm at, Raindrop, we've really kind of made a name for ourselves in like performance marketing. So it's like, now we're doing bigger stuff, and I'm getting to direct like bigger brands on TV and stuff. But the reason that the brands come to us is our ads perform so well. And
let me tee it up. Let me cut you off just to tee it up for people listening. If you do a commercial that's not performance based, like a typical commercial where a brand has an agency and they hire you to direct it, the ad spend is determined usually before the commercial is made. So if the commercial is dog shit, it's still going to run for the initial amount that the client or the media buyer has dedicated to that spot. In fact, I had a spot for this Ronzoni pasta in a bag that you microwave at work, that it was really good. And it ran its initial course and they pulled it. And I said, why did they pull it? It was selling all the time. The guy goes, well, the product sucked.
Yeah.
So not only did people buy it quickly because of the ad, but they put it back on the shelf saying it was terrible. But the initial run was the initial run, whether it was a great commercial or not. With performance-based marketing, as I understand it, I'm sure there's an initial run and outlay of cash to get it on the air. But as it performs better, they throw more ad dollars at it. Like that it's measurable and it's designed to move product versus maybe just branding in general. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say that would even go to like the scripting and concepting and stuff. So like, if you see like, pick like a nice Nike spot that we all love. It's kind of like a brand anthem, celebrating women's sports, and it's emotional and it's incredible and it's super cool. And then it's like Nike, and it's like, kind of attaching the brand to a feeling, where a lot of stuff we do is we're going to be more specific about the product and getting, trying to get the person to buy the product because they saw this commercial, not so much like a general like brand awareness spot. And so I think we've had so much success in like the social media ad space. Like we did all the
Squatch.
Yeah,
all
we did all
the social.
Yeah, we did all the Dr. Squatch stuff that really blew up, and I think like that happened like right before I got to Raindrop. But then when I got to Raindrop, very fortunate, but I inherited that account. So my first 2 years, I kind of got past the baton and was making all the Dr. Squatch stuff for about 2 years. But because of that, like they went from, I think 3 million in sales to 300 million in sales. And like the video our agency made, I think beat out Apple, Facebook, and maybe Google as like the best like performing ad of the year on YouTube in 2020. I think we have multiple Dr. Squatch ads on YouTube that have like 180 million views on it or something crazy. So it's just like everything came together, lightning in a bottle. But we still have, to this day, inbound sales of people coming in because of our ads for Dr. Squatch 5 years ago, because of the business result that happened for the companies. Now we're getting bigger. Yeah. So now we're getting bigger brands like a Native that does, more traditional work and stuff like that. But bigger brands will now come to us to have us put some of that performance flavor onto their ads that they can then run and know that like this is going to convert and sell the liquid hand soap or the deodorant or whatever particular product's being featured.
Or the potpourri, but I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the potpourri, there's a spot called Camp Funk. But before I ask you about that, because I laugh out loud, and it's a little bawdy in the humor.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
It's so freaking funny. But I skipped a step from the skate video and the Rogue Pasture cousin video to getting to Raindrop. How do you get to be an in-house producer director, now just director at Raindrop? Was it an ad on Craigslist? What was it?
It's probably a funny story. When I moved from Indianapolis to San Diego, I moved out here because my best friend moved out here during college, but my market research was checking Craigslist ads. And I was like, I see video editing jobs all the time on Craigslist. Yeah. And, just naive Indiana person, you think the entire state of California is Hollywood. So I was like, oh, it's close enough. And I got out here and I quickly discovered all those ads were for editing porn.
Yeah, baby. Bow chicka wow wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. That's not going to work. So I guess the long story short is when I moved out here, I started my own production company. And
what was that called?
New Focal Media.
Terrible name.
Terrible. I spent probably
Terrible.
60 hours coming up with it, by the way.
New Focal Media. Oof.
Terrible.
No, I'm just kidding, man.
No, it is terrible. I spent 60 hours on that, probably 100 hours on the business card, resulting in 0 sales. But I moved out here with
Helen. Get the logo for New Focal.
By the way, Helen, very lovely, very nice, way taller than I expected.
Right. A lot of people say that.
Yeah. I was like, she must have been a volleyball player, but couldn't be sweeter though. But yeah, I'm long-winded. I'll try to tell the long story short. But so I immediately moved out here, started my production company, was like, all right, I want to do documentary work, reached out to just any nonprofit or church or anybody that would like be into a little mini documentary. Couldn't even get anybody to say yes to a free documentary. So I got a job with my honors diploma from Indiana University. And I got a job at Domino's Pizza, delivering pizzas for 30 hours a week. And then my other, 10 hours, I would try to drum up business, go to business networking meetings. It was a scene. I hadn't lost my hair yet, but was losing it. And I've got a scraggly beard and an ill-fitting collared shirt and some pleated khakis, trying to pretend like I'm an adult. But anyways, I finally, I got like a homeless outreach ministry at a big church in town. They were like, oh, we would love that.
Hi, it's me, Jake, the editor. You probably know Commercial Directing Film School offers in-person boot camps and online courses. But did you know my dad does one-on-one consultations? Yeah, he does. So, now you know, okay? Anyway, now back to this enthralling interview.
And so I actually started volunteering with them for months just to like meet the volunteers, but then also to just become friends with the homeless neighbors, and like, because you can't just bring a camera out and just start filming. So slowly I'd bring my camera, and like one night I might get 60 seconds of B-roll, the next, and it was just over months. And then I got enough interviews once I became friends with enough of our homeless neighbors to do all these interviews. I put together like a little 3-minute mini doc just highlighting their outreach. And it was kind of a call for like volunteers, for people to come out and join them. And the church was probably the biggest church in San Diego. And they got wind of it. They were like, can you bring it in? We'd love to see it. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Because I always grew up in really tiny churches. So like the big mega church was like a whole different world to me. And they played it, and they were like,
thousands of people.
Oh yeah, at that time it was like 15,000 people
in a big arena or something.
Yeah, they would have 5 services, 3,000 people per service, and they wanted to play it on Sunday. And I was like,
big time.
I was like, I felt like CNN just picked up my documentary or something. And then they needed. Or their in-house DP had just left, and they needed a DP. And so they contracted me on a couple jobs, and they really liked my work. And I got one of the first DSLRs, and they were like blown away by the shallow depth of field and the 24p. And
yeah, that tricks them all.
Yeah, they probably thought I was more established than I was, if I'm being honest. So then I ended up getting a job in-house there. So I was an in-house DP there for like 4 or 5 years, just doing documentaries and promo work there.
And you're a man of faith.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're a Christian.
Yes. Yeah.
And this church, did it align with your particular flavor of Christianity? Like, was it like just heaven on earth?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, right? Because so my dad's a pastor, so I've grown up in the church, like literally from day one, behind the scenes.
Spell pastor.
Yep.
Spell it for us. Pastor.
Yeah, Pastor.
Really? I thought there was a U in there.
Pasteur?
Pasteur.
Pasteurized, I think, has a U. Maybe.
Oh, see, that's why you're the winner, Chris. So the reason I ask, because I would think, if it aligned with your beliefs, like, wow, not only am I doing the work I love, but it's for a great purpose. and I'm aligned with these people over something that's, very much a part of my soul.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it was, I could even tell a longer story of how I got there and how like I felt like God kind of really orchestrated all that. But it was,
That
yeah,
makes total sense.
yeah, it was a beautiful season. And it was cool because that church is very outward focused. They do the most community service, I think, out of any nonprofit in the city. So I would be telling stories of like going to like the state prisons, like telling stories inside that. Like it'd be like former prostitutes, drug addicts, like very much like, very like kind of come as you are church, non-denominational, like very outreach oriented. So it was cool because I would get to make like promo videos, and I tweaked a couple comedy spots in there.
I'm sure you did.
That I was personally a big fan of. But a lot of times it's all these like gritty documentaries, really heartfelt, life-changing stories that was just like incredible to be a part. But then because there was budget and it was a bigger church and stuff, we could do promos. So we do promos for upcoming sermon series, and it'd be like mini short films and stuff like that. So it was kind of like paid film school, if I'm being honest. It's like very, very warm audience, very warm audience.
Yeah.
Like, if we put out a dud, everybody still loved it. And it was also a nonprofit. So it was like, it was just all communication. So there was no like, hey, this didn't perform well. Like, I think we're going to go with the different agency because we didn't move our product. It's more just like,
right.
We're just trying
to do
to
another one.
Yeah, we're just trying to encourage people and tell stories. So that was cool. And then I was always doing freelance stuff on the side as well there. And then eventually ended up going back on my own, just running my production company. So I was producing and then
New Focal.
Yeah, I renamed it, and you're gonna love this. Rosedale Creative Collective, a collective of storytellers. Every time you mention that on the pod, I laugh so hard because I'm like, I did that. I tried to look like I was a big company when it was just me.
We're a collection of storytellers trying to connect to the heart of the matter with viewers and making your brands resonate, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not going to pick on it, but
no, that was made on my website.
Did you ever do any biblical reenactments? Not with homeless people, but I just think if you work for a church, you've got the source materials pretty strong.
We did one. I mean, we mostly stayed in our lane and played to our strengths and just did, gritty real life stuff.
Yeah.
But we did do one like John the Baptist thing where we hired this guy and like went out into like a lake and we rented like a underwater housing for a red camera, and it was like from Jesus's POV when he gets baptized. So it's like, we go, and it was like huge. It took 3 of us, like we're in our wetsuits and we're like pulling it down and then coming out, shooting it at like 480 frames per second. Because that was like the whole promo was just this epic slow-mo shot, and then it comes out, and then our VFX guy like, parted the clouds, and the God rays coming through, and
now you do it with a GoPro.
Yeah, it would have been a lot easier. But the funny thing is, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Funny thing. Always.
I was just gonna say I met my wife working at the church. So that was awesome. And she actually volunteered. So she was one of the extras in that shoot because we had people like on the shore, like in costumes and stuff like that. And so it's funny, the BTS, because I don't know if I'd even met her before that shoot, but now in the BTS photos, it's like I'm in my wetsuit and she's there on the shore.
Looking at you from afar longingly. That's going to be my husband.
Yeah, the sun bouncing off my bald head.
So how do you get to Raindrop from the church?
So when I was doing my own thing after the church for about 7-8 years, I was renting studio space from my good buddy who's a photographer, and he had a studio in town. And then my buddy Tom, who like he had done videos for another church, and then he was like one of the first people that did the really cool wedding videos, like really high end.
Oh, yeah.
cinematic wedding videos. And then he ended up, so from time to time, we would run into each other, or we would rent each other's cameras and stuff like that. And then he got office space out of that same studio that I was in. So we were working across the hallway. Um, and then he started doing some work for Raindrop Agency. And then during that time, he went in-house. So it was like I was kind of getting a front row seat to him coming in to really build up the video team. And he was involved in the first like Dr. Squatch videos and stuff like that. We would catch up. And then during COVID, I think right when that hit, I think they had to furlough a lot of staff because it was just everybody stopped spending. But then, as you remember, very quickly, all of a sudden, everybody started just sitting at home buying stuff online. So, like most of Raindrop, historically, Raindrop's clients have been like direct to consumer, so D2C. And so that's like when Dr. Squatch and some of those brands like really blew up. So they went from like furloughing a bunch of people to like, a couple weeks later being like, we need as many people as we can get. And so he brought me in actually as like kind of like I was basically like the insurance policy. So if somebody would get sick from COVID,
oh right, he
there. Would call me, and so
Chris, I would grab a camera. You're up.
Yeah, so like I would DP. I started DPing some stuff, and then he was like, "We have so much work. Like I really need somebody else to help direct," because he was directing most of the stuff, and he was like, "Would you be interested in like shadowing me on a shoot and just see if that's something you'd be interested in?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, for sure." So I did that and loved that. And then, at the time I was like, I would tell everybody that would listen to me like, "Oh, I'll never work for anybody ever again. Like I love working for myself. This is crazy." And then, my brother-in-law was telling me there was a job opening at the agency and he was thinking about applying for it. I think it was like a cinematographer role or something. And I was really talking up the company. I was like, honestly, I would never work for anybody, but if I did, it would be for Raindrop. And so I'm talking up the company for him, like you should totally apply. And then I'm like, maybe I should work there. And they were hiring a full-time on-set director. So I told my buddy, I'm like, yeah, I think I might be interested. And he's like, oh, like I had no idea that you would want to do this, come in-house. And I was like, yeah, I think so. And so I came on in-house, and that was like the official shift from DP to director.
That's a great story, man. I love back. Raindrop shows up in my Instagram feed as if I am a client with a product.
Okay.
Right. So like, hey, this is what we do. And I want to ask you about some of the production techniques. But I remember meeting you and, finding out that you had this in-house gig directing, which I have been a proponent preaching this to people. Like, if you want to direct, if you can work at an agency that has an in-house unit, and I've probably talked about it too much on the podcast, you're shooting more than I am, and you're probably not doing treatments.
Yeah,
or do you do a treatment in-house?
That's something that we've just started that I kind of implemented just in the last year, and I've had to do that for some of our bigger stuff, like our broadcast spots. So
they're for the client, to get the client on board, right? Or the whole team, production team.
Yeah, so the spots that I do, I kind of do a lot of our like kind of marquee bigger stuff for the agency.
Yeah.
And for that, I do have to do external full director's treatments and stuff like that. But it's
so like native, from the gods to your sink, right? That's on your website. It's a marquee spot for Raindrop. It's got a cast of 8 or 9 people. Big costumes of gods and goddesses, a wonderful set that you did a treatment for just so the native people were comfortable and the scale of everything you were going to do, how the day was going to run, the tone.
Totally.
The tone of Raindrop as an agency is pretty consistent. And I think your tone of humor, your brand of humor seems aligned with the company's tone.
Totally. Yeah, I think I'm very, very fortunate in that sense. Like I think, if push came to shove, I would probably like to do a little bit more comedy dialogue, but all in all, like I love our stuff, like our review meetings, concept review, script review. I mean, we're all just laughing hysterically, and a lot of our writers are stand-up comedians or former stand-up comedians, and that's just kind of like the Squatch stuff was very comedic, so that's kind of
Yeah.
what people come to us. And I mean, people come to us for all sorts of stuff too. And I think as we're growing as an agency, we're trying to like, as an agency, break out a little bit more beyond that. But as far as production goes, like, we still do a ton of comedy, and very
Do you ever do
excited.
stuff that is not produced in house, or that's part and parcel with the creating the ads?
Yeah, most of it, I'd say like 98% of it is in-house. And I mean, we'll partner with other um, like when I did the Super Bowl stuff up in Vancouver, it's like, we would work with Circle Productions, which is like
Oh yeah,
a service production company up there. So
I used to be
we're
with
not,
Circle Productions.
what?
I used to be signed with Circle Productions back in 20 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, nice people. Been
Yeah,
around
they're so
forever.
great. They're the nicest people ever. So I love working with them.
What
But
was
yeah,
what?
going back to your question though, like for that native spot, I still did a director's treatment for that. There's not the pressure. You could think of it as a single bid, but there's not the pressure of winning the work, but there's the pressure, not the pressure, but it's just more of like making sure that we're all aligned, that I'm on the same page as the client and our creative team of like, and this is like how it's going to execute. And Native now, they got bought by P&G a while ago, so they're a Procter and Gamble company, and Procter and Gamble is very traditional triple bid. They have their process, and we're kind of breaking that process a little bit. All the work that I've done for P&G brands has just been single bid. We're doing it in house, and I get to direct it, and I
Awesome.
don't have to win the job.
Do you do a call still,
Uh-huh.
like a pitch call? But it's more of a let's get on the same page uh, kickoff call than it is a pitch.
Yeah, it's like because I mean at that point they've been working with our creative team and accounts team for so much up until that point that it's almost like I'm just like kind of a new face within the group. But now we've kind of started, like I'll still make my full director's treatment deck and stuff, but a lot of times too, if it's a repeat client like a native where it's like, I think we've done, I don't know, 5 different products within the from your gods to your sink thing. So it's like we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So a lot of times I end up just putting director's treatment slides into our pre-production deck. So it's kind of like all one mega meeting where we're going to go over the props and the wardrobe, and then also like the tone and the cinematography, and then like any ideas that I had for punch ups and stuff like that. So it's kind of, because it's kind of all in house, it's kind of like we kind of blend it all together. But
How is
yeah.
that with the creative team that you're like you see them in the break room around the water cooler? Hey, I got an idea for that poo-pourri. What if we did this? And like, yeah, that's great, Chris. Or do they roll their eyes and goes, you stick to directing, we'll come up with the comedy bits?
I mean, they're very collaborative. They're very nice. Like I'm shocked at the lack of ego on our team and how collaborative. Because I'm like, if I was writing, I would be the eye roller, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I'd be like, just do my script, buddy.
yeah, just
Um,
stick to the script. I
yeah,
get
but
that. I get that as a hired gun. We're like,
yeah,
can we like 5 takes in? Can we do the script I wrote?
yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, it varies by project. So my role at the agency is director of content. So I kind of have a split role. So like when I first got hired, I was just on-set director. That's all I did was direct, and I managed some people in the production team, but I was just kind of staying in your lane. But everything with Raindrop is a group project. Like if the junior account manager has an idea, it's like everybody listens to it. But that being said, for our smaller stuff, I get to direct a lot of our bigger marquee stuff. And so now that ends up being about like maybe 4 to 7 times a year, where before it was probably 25 30 times a year, 20,
Wow.
like crazy. So now it's just, yeah, like 4 to 7 or something like that. So maybe once or twice a quarter. But my role as director of content in-house is I'm kind of the directorial presence for every project in pre-production and in post. So how it works is I'm in the concept review meetings with the writers and the creative directors and our director of production. I'm in the script review meetings as well. And so I'm offering feedback from the lens of a director
Yeah.
all throughout. And I take one hat off and put the other hat and try to stay in the back because it's almost kind of like an internal creative meeting that me and the director producer are just kind of like listening in on to flag like, hey, we don't have budget for the guy to be on a yacht. But what if, is there a way you guys could write something funny where he's got a model yacht in his hand, or like, trying to like keep things in the bounds of what we actually have resources for.
It's almost like a producing director on a network series
Mm.
where other directors come in for episodes, but there's this producing director that kind of keeps it consistent, keeps it within the budget. Because I'm assuming that other filmmakers are going out and executing some of this content.
Yeah.
Under your command.
Yeah, most of it. So I, as part of my job too, I manage we have 2 full-time on-set directors that I manage, and they direct the majority of our spots. And then I also manage our 2 in-house cinematographers as well. But then if we are going to use a contract director for a project, that's my role to connect with them and try to find the right person for the job when we have too much work for our in-house team. And then
how do you like that role?
How do I like it?
Yeah, because that's different than being on set directing or being on your skateboard with the soft wheels. Like that's a managerial gig.
Yeah, it's good. What I like is I like that it keeps things different. Like I can like lock in. So I just directed a spot, a regional Super Bowl spot for Spruce again. I did their spot last year. So we were up in Canada in November. And so like for about a month and a half, I like mostly had blinders on, and it's like, this is our huge shoot for the year. And then it's like, and I'm involved on that one, like through post-production, and that's pretty involved with special effects and sound and all that stuff. But then my next project that I'll direct is we're doing March Madness spots for Spruce again, and I'm directing that here in like 10 days. So I'm like kind of going back to like blinders on, but then in between then it's like I just take that hat off and just completely shift to now I'm like, it kind of feels like I'm like a consultant / coach. So I'm like consulting on the script, whether that's like punch ups or whether I'm like, I don't think this is going to work in the edit, or like, can you clarify what you mean by this? Because like what you're saying here is not like on the page. And like, so like kind of like being a bad cop sometimes, but also like, offering my 2 cents. And then also like in my mind in pre-production, I'm mentally in post-production. And what are the problems that we're going to have in post with this script, and trying to get ahead of those as much as I can. So then when we hand it off to our director, we've kind of like worked out a lot of the kinks that would be the problems we'd be fixing in post kind of thing.
Great evolution of your not only career, but the skill set of from shooting and figuring it out, self-taught, learning how to put a story together, promos, sneaking in humor, to now doing your own thing. This is why, Chris, I say you've got the best job in the world, because you have these single bid jobs. You get to express your point of view and your comedy, and now you're helping. I'm assuming it's a next generation of filmmaker that's under you, that you're helping them get better and avoiding the pitfalls that they would have to discover on their own.
Yeah, it's interesting, and to be honest, like I've really appreciated your mentorship, because I didn't have any sort of mentor coming up at all. Like, documentary, even though I like, my degree was in multimedia and stuff like that. It was like, it was all figuring it out myself. Not, and I don't want to say that like egotistically, but it was just like, I had to do it the hard way. Cause like, my dad's a pastor. He's not like, he wasn't, like a filmmaker himself. There's nobody in my family or relatives or even anybody I knew was doing anything remotely close to creative production or anything. So kind of figured out a lot of stuff the hard way. And I've always loved learning something and then turning around and teaching it while it's fresh. And I had, even when I was doing the church stuff, it's like I've got an online film school that I don't even talk about, but it was like where when I stopped doing the church stuff, I did this thing called churchfilmschool.com, and it's still up there and it's free now, but it's
I
like
want to check that out. Churchfilmschool.com. Now that's a good name.
that and the URL was available too, so that was nice.
Churchfilmschool.com. I mean, it's
Yeah,
no new focal, but that's a good one.
that's true. Better SEO, I
It's
think.
still live. I'm going to go there. We're hanging
Yeah,
out.
it's still live, and I've got, video on demand courses. It's like kind of a, maybe a lower budget version of what you've done. Yours is way better, but I've even got like a shadow thing and stuff like
Look at
that.
that.
But
Want to create better testimonial films for your church? Look at this. This is great.
thanks.
I mean, talk about a niche.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
there's
So
there's a young Chris Francis.
yeah, young Chris Francis. So yeah, so like I've always loved to teach something when I learn it, because I love problem solving and I love figuring things out, and that's what excites me. And I've done that through skateboarding, through DPing. Now I'm doing it through directing. So I love that like I can take the lessons I'm learning and immediately like share them with the guys that I manage, or and I get to give feedback too. Like I love feedback. Honestly, I think feedback is the biggest gift you can give to somebody. And I think through so much of what I've done, I've just haven't gotten a ton of feedback. So it's like you just kind of got to trust your gut and then also like see what the results are. So I love that, like for me and the team that I manage, whether it's the cinematographers or the directors, like we can review their work and I can tell them, we can celebrate what worked really well, what they can maybe try next time. And so I love being able to coach and encourage and also
And you're
occasionally,
positive. You're
yeah,
positive about it. You're giving feedback in a positive, palatable way that people can take. You're not beating them with the stick.
yeah. And I think one of the cool things, I think Raindrop has an incredible culture internally that they had already created, and I've just got to come in and be a part of it. But talking about being in-house, I think one of the benefits to being in-house, and there's some negatives for sure, but one of the benefits is that you're working with the same people all the time and you're full time. So I noticed like back when I was like a DP for hire, you would do a shoot and then you wouldn't hear any feedback. And then I guess if you got hired for next year, you'd be like, oh, they must have liked what I did.
Right.
But when you're working with the same people internally, there's no like, this person did a crappy job, I think we just won't hire him next time. It's like, I'm working with this person next week. I'm going to see them on Zoom Monday morning. So it really does kind of foster that, like, if you need somebody to get better, you've got to invest in that person because you're going to keep working with them. If you want your spots to get better, you need them to get better, and you need to do it in a way that's encouraging and uplifting and celebrating what they've already done well. And then if there is like a conflict or somebody, dropped a ball somewhere, it's like you've got to kind of have that conversation where I feel like when you're kind of a gun for hire, you just kind of like, the temptation is kind of roll your eyes and be like, can you believe the producer forgot the basketball prop? This is a basketball spot, like. And it's more like, okay, like, so that happened and like we worked through it, but like, what can we do next time to like ensure that like we've got, some good reminders in place or something like that. So it kind of really,
It's a wonderful insight.
yeah, it fosters like, you've got to really value the long term, because I think
Team building.
I think the temptation in production sometimes can be like, this is my one spot and I've got to nail it and it's got to be good. And if if the gaffer is sucking, like I've got to like crack the whip, or you know what I mean? Like if like whatever, it's like this is my spot. It's like when you're full time, you want to do excellent work, but you know that next week or the 2 weeks you've got another job and another job after that. So it kind of instills kind of more of a long-term marathon mindset versus like a sprint / lottery. Like this spot's got to be my spot because this is what's going to get me the other work. It's not like that when you're in-house.
I like that investment in team building where you can say, hey, this, because I'm a perfect example of if someone doesn't perform, even a PA that I notice is on his phone the whole time. I'm like, why aren't you asking if you can help? So I will just write that person off. Whereas, you know, there are friends that I've worked with where I go, okay, this person is worth investing in. I'm going to either take them to lunch or pull them aside and go, hey, this has got to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time, it's really 2 strikes you're out with that kind of stitch.
Yeah.
But what you're saying with an internal team, it behooves everyone to talk about the blemishes and clear them up before the next shoot, because it's not like you're fired. It's just we all want to do better.
Totally.
I love that.
Yeah, I think like, so we have like every Monday morning we have our production department meeting, and a big part of that is reviewing the shoots that happened last week and then talking about the shoots that are coming up next week. And so there's like kind of a built-in review, and then me and Michelle, our director of production, we're kind of like work hand in hand, and because she manages all the producers and then I manage all the content team, so cinematographers and directors. And so we'll know, like, we'll hear like, hey, during this shoot, you know, like so-and-so and so-and-so had a tiff or whatever, or somebody showed up late or unprepared. And then we will kind of talk through strategically, like, you know, how do we want to handle this? And then, you know, the best thing is to get those 2 people together to kind of work it out, because yeah, everybody just wants to make the best stuff, and we all have blind spots and we're all growing. And you know, sometimes productions, everything happens really smoothly. And then there's other times where just everything goes wrong and it kind of ratchets up the pressure. And so it's like, you know, a lot of times me and Michelle are kind of more concerned of like, you know, like how are we working together? How's everybody treating each other in these moments and stuff like that. So yeah, we try to coach as best we can on that side of things.
Let me ask you a couple questions about these spots at chrisfrancis.tv.
Sure.
Poopery Camp Funk.
Yes.
Is that a set? It's a woman playing a teenager at a camp.
Yes.
Which is funny already.
Yes.
And she says, I just built a log cabin in the toilet. She's standing outside the toilet of a log cabin. Yeah. I just built a log cabin in that toilet, which to me is so gross and laugh out loud funny at the same time. And then the boy, well, there's my crush, won't know. And he calls her a name and she goes, it's Becky. Like he got the name wrong. So you hit all the tropes of like a summer camp movie.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, it seems like you could have shot that in half a day.
Yeah, that was a part of a big campaign where we did like, I don't know, like literally like 10 spots.
In one day?
No, like over the week. But like some of them were horizontal, some were natively vertical. We did a bunch of 15-second spots, I think a couple 30s maybe. And then we did some like longer form, like TikTok-y kind of 60-second vertical stuff for them. That one was just my favorite, but that was on location. Literally all we did was wardrobe and then put that toilet sign on the cabin.
On the wall, yeah.
You know, put some of our other actors in the background, but yeah.
Where's that camp?
It's up on Mount Palomar Mountain in San Diego.
Okay.
At least I believe so.
And then Spruce let the dogs out. Spruce is what is Spruce? A garden?
It is it's a weed killer, but they don't use the word natural, but it's like kind of like the opposite of Roundup. There's like no harsh chemicals. It's like they use I forget what all's in there, but it's like essential oils and something else that basically dehydrates the weed. I have all this burned into my brain. So instead of a chemical, it just dehydrates the root to the root and it dies. So then that way, as soon as it dries, it's like kids and dogs can be out around it. And, you know, your dog's not going to die if he eats some grass with Roundup on it. No, no shade. Don't want to necessarily throw shade on anybody, but I think Roundup kind of deserves it. That's just my personal statement.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
No
Not your
reflection
views
to the
don't
agency or the
represent
brand.
the podcast or Raindrop or
Yeah.
but you got the song "Who Let the Dogs Out" and then spruce. But there's a plethora of, I'm going to say it's CG. This may predate AI, but like the same dogs, almost like a is it Busby Berkeley film, like an old swim film from the 40s or whenever that era
Oh, yeah,
was.
yeah.
Someone will correct me, but
Yeah.
like this, it looks like the same wiener dogs are jumping in the pool as the camera pushes in. It's a
Yeah.
really well done effect.
Thank
And
you.
compositing, you must have composited all the dogs around the pool and yard. It's a pretty intricate effects job, but still
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, so that was last year's regional Super Bowl spot for Spruce, and that was very technical. So we had real dogs, and we had some CG dogs, and then there were shots like the corgi shot. That was my
Corgi.
that was my favorite, and I'm glad I had to fight for it several times to stay in. But I was like, I just really wanted to do that old 40s gag. So that was very technical. We're shooting a lot of plates. We worked with the Mill, which, you know, unfortunately they went out of business right afterwards. And now they're the good people. Most of the
That's
good
the
people
spot
there.
that put them out of business.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the good people now are at, ARC. I believe is what it's called. But yeah, they did the CG dogs. So the corgi is CG, and then the pug at the end that jumps over the fence is CG. And so they did all that. But yeah, all the other dogs are real. And so we were doing tons of plates, like the dog DJing. You know, we had a green screen or a blue screen. A trainer's in a blue suit, which I have the funniest
Manipulating the
BTS ever
dog.
that I cannot share publicly, but of them behind the dog, like in a full blue, like a blue man suit, like scratching the record and stuff like that. So, a
So
lot
my
of fun,
question
very,
is,
very technical.
how did you bone up for the shoot, having not, I mean, had you done a lot of effects and a lot of CG work? And like, if you were a freelance director, no offense, you may not be hired for that job because someone would say, he doesn't really have enough effects on his reel. But being
Totally.
in-house, they go, Chris, you're up. Learn it, buddy. Now you've got 2 weeks to learn how to make CG dogs DJ.
Totally. Yeah. There's no shot that I would have won that job at all.
But now
And
you could. Yeah.
that's one of the perks of being in house, and I have to thank leadership at the agency a lot too, because they went to bat. Because I remember even excuse me, Spruce was a new company, and hopefully I'm not sharing too much information here, but we were launching them, and they chose us to be their agency of record, and we beat out a couple other really established agencies, bigger agencies than us, and they really wanted us to do what we do well. And then when we got into production, like their head of production is like, all right, so who are we thinking directors like for the triple bid or whatever? And one of our co-founders was like, no, like we're directing this. Like,
Yeah, we got this.
yeah, like Chris is going to direct. And they're like, you know, that's not how we do things around here, basically. Like, because P&G is a huge, you know, established company, obviously one of the biggest companies in the world. And the CEO, I think maybe of Spruce or their team, they just really trusted us, and they were like, we want to really partner with Raindrop, and we want to do it their way. So they got like a one-time exemption to do a single bid.
That's great.
And I mean, I worked my tail off. You know, I treated it like it was a triple bid and went as far as I could, you know, go. But that was honestly the first time I had ever even made a director's treatment like that. And so I present it internally to the team just as I would if it was, you know, an agency hiring me, and then externally. And
Called integrity, Chris, and you've got it.
Yeah, it went really great, and so I'm very fortunate. Feel very blessed because yeah, like I said, like there's no way I would have won a triple bid on that because I didn't have any dog effect works on my spots, you know.
But it's so refreshing, one, that, the team at Raindrop stood up for you. And I'm going to say this, commercial directing, it's not brain surgery.
Hmm.
And that's not to diminish what you do or what I do, but to be a commercial director, you have to have this gene that makes you obsess over the job. So if I'm going to do a spot for adult diapers, I'm going to wear them and I'm going to learn them and I'm going to plunge into it. If there's an effect, I just submitted something to some friends I've worked with a bunch, and I showed them an effect that I had done over the weekend, like a test. And they're like, but you're not an effects guy. You're not a VFX director. And I go, really? I mean, I don't market myself as that, but it's an assignment. So we learn what we need to execute almost on a job per job basis. Like, you may not have shot anyone in front of a log cabin. So you're not going to do that job because we need to find someone that shot at log cabins. Like, it's kind of ridiculous at some point. And the triple bid, I recently was involved. I had some friends at an agency, and they got a new client who was new to doing commercials, and we're gonna have to triple bid. Well, do you have to? Like, you're just teaching someone that they have this is the opposite of P&G, who that's the ingrained system. I'm saying there are some people, especially if their budgets are challenged, why not just say, this is the director. We trust her. We've worked with her so many times. She's going to commit, obsess over the product and the board, and you're going to have a great spot.
Totally.
So your story is wonderful, that the Spruce people, they rolled the dice and they got an award-winning spot.
Yeah, I think it worked out great. And for that one in particular, too, they liked it so much that they were just going to run it again at this year's Super Bowl. And then I think we were able to convince them to do a new spot. And so we did a new spot I was just up in LA or in Santa Monica this week doing post sound at Lime Studios for it and doing the final mix and stuff.
Shout out Susie at Lime.
Yeah, great food, great drinks. It was fantastic.
Great caterer.
4-star treatment. It is definitely the cushiest part of my entire year is when we get to go to Lime Studios.
Chris, I got to wrap up.
Sure.
But I got 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
Number 1, in my feed, appealing to me as someone with a product, and maybe I have a hair product coming out soon, I get these Raindrop ads that are genius. They say, we can cut your costs because we're using, like, it looks like a giant TV from Costco when I walk in, instead of an LED wall. I mean, literally, I'm sure it's top of the rock product, but it looks like a TV from Costco has been turned vertically. And then the voiceover shows like 2 actors and a TV screen, plus AI generative fill scene extension. And we're saving you money. And I sent it to my kids and I go, I've been saying that for about 5 years, that you could use a good LED screen. Like, if I was going to do a spot for K Jewelers and it was a close up of a ring, by golly, we could be in Honolulu.
Right.
By playing it on my TV and doing a close up of people with the ring. Raindrop has done that with 2 people squeezed in. And then for the YouTube, you make it 16:9 with scene extension. That's my kudos. How do you as a director embrace that? Or do you fight that? Or do you see it as like, it's just so liberating? Or is it constraining? What is your take on that approach?
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, first of all, I actually think it is a 100-inch TV from Costco, maybe from Best Buy. We're actually getting a volume, like a full volume installed actually this month. And I've got to do a lot of work on the volume over the last year. So we will have that option too, but this is kind of the low budget. But yeah, we used TVs for product shots for the last several years. Like a lot of times, like we might do a Dr. Squatch out in the woods, and then we'll come back in studio the next day with either a photo or a video of the woods, and then have the art director like set dress product shots. And then for this, what we call Raindrop Realms is just kind of taking that to the next level, so to speak. So we have a lot of clients that'll come to us that can't quite afford like our bigger productions, a lot of like D2C brands, stuff like that. And so we can do like pretty like dialogue heavy or product heavy spots on those screens very strategically. So that's like a new offering that we've been doing for the last 6 months, and we're still learning every shoot. And sometimes the backgrounds are stock photos, sometimes they're generated images, sometimes it's video, depending on the thing. But it is kind of like, if we're going to do that, like the writers know that like this is a realm spot, so this is what we're kind of limited to. We're kind of limited to like mediums and medium close-ups, and we can only do so many different backdrops in a day, because then we've still got to adjust the lighting to match the background and fit the spot. So
and it's productized by, you call it Raindrop Realms, so a client coming to the agency knows I'm paying for the creative, the strategy, the funny writing, the direction, and this is the sandbox that I'm going to play in.
Right. Yeah.
They may not care or know about the TV and the vertical and all that. They just know it's going to be two actors talking and a product shot.
Yeah, we're pretty clear with like the limitations of what we can and can't do with that offering for sure. So it's not, there's not going to be like, a car peeling out or somebody doing a skateboard trick, some like we can't see the floor, we got to see like, and of course the writers will push the boundaries. And then on the creatives, on production side, we're kind of like, wow, what if we had them on a walking pad? Could we do a moving back? And then it's like, we got to be like, whoa. The whole point of this is to like simplify, have a really good performing ad that works within this bounds. So it's a push and pull. Like it's like we have this.
Tarzan is one that's in my Instagram feed.
Yeah.
In the Raindrop ad, it's Tarzan swinging in a vertical shot on a rope in front of the Costco TV.
Yeah.
And then he lands, he's talking to Jane or the woman about the product, and it all works. And they show how the sausage is made. They, meaning you, the scene extension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And honestly too, because of a lot of what we do with comedy, that kind of lends itself to getting away with stuff. So like, even if it is a little campy, like that can be part of the bit, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be like, we're not trying to make a realm spot look like it was a $500,000 production. It's like,
I think that's key. The campiness. It's interesting because in your work, Native is not as campy as Poopery, but it's still tongue in cheek. The production value is high. In fact, I think the production value of Native is, it's like anything you see during the Golden Globes or, it's a wonderful spot. And Potpourri is perfect for what it is. And I'm not qualifying it sounded like I qualified your work. It's supposed to be campy, and it's given the puns and the pun in the name and the product. I think it's spot on. Totally. I could see someone overproducing that and making it less funny. And how that translates into sales is beyond me, but I would think it would hurt. I think the comedy is what sells.
Totally. Yeah. And we do all sorts of kind of videos and commercials too. But yeah, when you get like a Poopery, then it's like when the product lines up, like lends itself, it's like we'll do stuff for, like dude wipes and bidets, and some of my favorite spots I've ever done have strangely all been for like feminine hygiene products. And it's like it kind of leans like on that Poopery spot, like where it kind of subverts, like we're used to like, the dude wipes or like where it's kind of the guys being, manscape, a little crass or riding the line, but there's something about getting a female to do that just kind of subverts that just makes it funnier to me. And so I've done like, some of my favorite spots, and I think they might be on my website, are like nude. They're like hair removal spots. And it's just like, those are the funnest I've ever had on set. And my first, I think my first spot I ever did for Raindrop, I think, was for a bidet company, and they were focusing on feminine hygiene of a bidet. So it's like, our salespeople say that we own the bathroom. If there's a product in the bathroom, Raindrop is the best people to sell it for you.
That's great. Okay, last question. First of all, thank you for being on the podcast. And
thanks for having me.
Very generous with your time. We've gone from spelling bee to skateboarding to the church to New Focal to Raindrop to Super Bowl spots. So this has been a great learning your story. When they click on your name, where do you want it to take them?
I think chrisfrancis.tv is probably the best. I'm on Instagram too, like _Francois. And there's a link somewhere on my website that may be at the bottom for that. I'm not on Instagram as much, but I do post work and behind the scenes stuff. Like I always do like a stories dump. So, cause I'm, I don't know if I should say this, but a lot of the shoots I'm on, you're not supposed to share anything BTS. So I'll just put it on stories. It'll disappear in 24 hours. Don't tag anybody, and hope that, nobody like screen grabs it and sends it to the client. But that's my way of like taking people behind the curtain real quick.
I think it's an antiquated mindset to not share the behind the scenes, because more and more, especially with AI, people love the behind the scenes of the live action stuff and how you did the centaur and all this stuff. Okay, My last question. I'll let you go. The show is called Respect the Process. So we end it with you, Chris, answering, what does that mean to you?
Yeah. Well, I've had about a year and a half to think about this question, because I think about it every time you ask it. And I think for me, coming from my background of doing doc stuff, doing low budget stuff, and then now being on a team at Raindrop, for me, I think I learned that most of like the stress and the anxiety and the things that were keeping me from showing up the best and doing my best work was from just trying to do too many different roles. And there's a beautiful scripture in the Bible in Corinthians, and it's like this illustration about the body, and just about how like, it's kind of like the foot can't say to the hand, like, I don't need you. And, the hand can't say to the mouth, like, well, I'm not as important as you, so I don't matter, and that kind of thing. And for me, I felt like God really showed me that when I got to Raindrop and was a part of a team and started working on productions that had bigger crews where people would specialize. I noticed, I think before I even remembered this illustration, just like the, I don't even know how to call it, like the intangible, I don't know if it's flow state or like when you're a runner and you're like a runner's high, but just like the sense of like peace of like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be producing, directing, DPing, doing the sales and all, PAing, craft services. And so it's been interesting as my career has like kind of elevated over the last 5 years, that the bigger the crew that I'm on, the easier and more life-giving it is. And I would have told you 4 years ago, if you were like, hey, do you want to direct $1 million Super Bowl commercial? I would say, yeah, but I would be scared out of my mind. And I would even daydream having a panic attack in the hotel room the night before of like, holy crap. But what I've learned is like it takes everybody. So like, to come back to your question, like to respect the process for me is about accepting that I'm just one part of the process. I'm just one person. And if I can just really like kind of make peace with that, of like, I bring a certain part and like a certain expertise and a certain voice and experience, but in order for that to work, I need everybody else to do what they're good at. And if I'm focused on like, the caterer sucks, or like, this producer's driving me nuts, or why didn't, you know what I mean? It's like, going back to that body analogy, the only way that our bodies work is if everything's in harmony. And if it's not in harmony, everything, it just shuts down. And so for me, respecting the process is like accepting that I'm an important part of the process, but I'm just one part of it. And I need to like be humble and honor all the other people and processes along the way of filmmaking, because commercial filmmaking is a team sport and I can't do it without them. And the more I release that, and the more I get to work with other people that are good at what they do and are unique, it just makes my job so much more enjoyable, to the point where this year when I did the Super Bowl commercial, that was like the least stressed I've ever been. Like the biggest shoot to date I've ever done. And it's just like, this is incredible. Like there's so many people here and everybody's amazing at what they do. And we're all working together towards a goal. And it's like, you just feel that intangible, like this is the way it's supposed to be. Like we're supposed to be dependent on each other as humans.
And just because we're directors doesn't mean we need to know everything. Like I love watching someone light a scene going, I have no idea what those lights are. I don't know why you put them there. I mean, I have an understanding, but I'm no expert. So the better the crew, the easier the job.
Totally.
And I love that flow state, getting when everybody's firing on all cylinders and it's all there and there's no negativity, which I think starts with us at the top. And by respecting what everyone's gig is on the job, you're showing respect. Right?
Yeah, I think
they're going to do better.
Yeah, I think it's the humility of like, I'm not going to come in with an ego and think that the process is broken, that's existed before me. It's like, it's been there because a lot of smart people have gone ahead of me. And this was like where we landed. And it's like, yeah, you can improve and tweak over time, but it is really just honoring the people that have gone before me and the people that I get to work with. And it just, we can't, as much as we try, we can't control the outcome of the commercial, like whether it sells, whether it doesn't sell, whether all the comedy bits hit, but what we can control is just like how we show up on set and how we honor and respect the other crew members and make it, we can kind of control or shape the process. So I think when we focus on respecting the process and respecting the people and respecting them by coming prepared and ready to do our best work, then I think, over time, the spots and stuff will come out great as well. But, that's what's more important. I always say at our spots, it's like, we're not curing cancer, we're selling soap. So let's have fun and, just have a great time and do our best,
It's a great answer, Chris. Thank you so much. Listeners, I'm going to post some spots at jordanbrady.com. It's going to be tough. I want to go native, but I may go poopery. But I'm going to put a link when you click on Chris's name. It'll take you to his website, and I'll put your Instagram on there too. Hey, man, have a great day. Have great shoots coming up.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, this was great. And listeners, stick around for the next minute and a half. I don't know how many people listen to the end, but I do every time. And like the chill music with the promos, I actually love that because to me, that's my little minute and a half time to reflect on the episode and really think about. Now, I don't know if I said anything valuable for my episode, but for other people, I'm like, whatever they're saying, I'm like, that's a nice minute and a half buffer before it auto plays, the next podcast.
Wow, you're the first person to mention that, and that is exactly why it's there.
Yeah.
So my friend Wayne Fetterman is one of my best friends, and he's a incredibly funny actor. And I said, record a couple of promos I'm going to use in my podcast. And he has a very distinct voice, right? And then a friend of Helen's did a plug for True Gent, which pays for the show. And my friend Wayne does the film school ad. But that chill music, I wanted sort of an aperitif, if you will, a palate cleanser before whatever the next show you're going to listen to. And I know, like, when I listen to podcasts, I do want to reflect. So, Chris, I'm so happy that resonates with you.
Yeah, no, it was well thought out. And I usually just turn it off at the end and not go to another podcast because that minute and a half helps me, like, downshift, and I'm like, I want to think about this a little bit more. I don't need to jump into the next, episode or whatever. So
Joe Rogan, yeah. Okay, man. Thank you so much, and
right.
I'll keep in touch with when this comes out and everything.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Jordan.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate all you do.
Of course. Likewise.
Commercial Directing Film School's mission is to help filmmakers direct commercials professionally. With online courses and in-person boot camps, we demystify the process to get you to the next level, all taught by your accessible mentor, filmmaker Jordan Brady.
True Gentleman Industries. We make commercials.